So we're on Yud Chet Bet, and we're about to go into a whole bunch of stuff about things you can write or can't write on Chol Moed. And many of these items are either because of Davra Avod, something that would cause a loss if you wouldn't record it, or it's possible that maybe writing itself is not that much of a malacha, right? Even though we usually call malaches umman, it is malacha, but it's truly less malacha than a lot of other hard work. And in many of these cases, for sure, there's another reason for a heter called tzorchei rabim, that it doesn't only apply to one individual, it applies to many people, and may not apply to everyone, surely applies to a bunch of these items. So the Mishnah says as follows. So the Elo Kotzim B'Moed, the following items can be written on Chol Moed, and as I said, usually most of the Rishonim says it's because of Davar Avod, which by the way implies that besides these items, you couldn't write on Chol Moed.
Absolutely.
Right? We all understand the implication. These are the exceptions where you can write on Chol Moed, but everything else you could not. Okay. And that's a whole, because it's malacha, it's considered melecha summa, it's considered skilled labor, skilled artisan's labor.
You wonder what would happen if you could write yourself. Let's say you happened to be an uman yourself.
So then it's
still write something for yourself.
It's still melecha summa. So that of course brings it down to the modern era, where with the beginning of modernity, everybody can write.
Everybody can write.
So that's why you find, if there's still some discussion. People say if you write with a shino, you write with some kind of change, and the shino maybe only be the first line, or maybe not even that, because writing today is clearly changed. Whereas in these days, in the days of the Mishnah and the Gemara, you had to have professional writers, professional scribes.
The examples we're going to look at here, these are formal, legal documents.
That's correct. That's right.
If you want to write a note, you want to write your shopping list.
That's the question.
Correct. So they are formal notes, and that's why we put them under the category of Davravud, because a formal note, if you don't record it, you may not be able to collect it, or you may lose the recording of it. I guess one could argue that if you have a shopping list and you didn't remember it, then you forget to get the items that you needed to.
That would be
right. We forget how little people actually needed to remember in antiquity. Right?
Simpler lives.
Didn't have too many choices.
A, they had simpler lives. The second, well, they did, and today we've kind of gone the other way. We have so much to remember. We have organizers and databases and so forth, right? The origins why there are 7 numbers in a phone number. And of course now there's 10-digit dialing. But the reason with 7 numbers, they did a study back in the infancy of phone dialing to realize that beyond 7 numbers people couldn't remember. So that's how this number came about. That's my 3 plus 4. So anyway, the following things you can write on Chol Moed, Kedushay Noshim. Okay, so this the Gemara is going to have a discussion what this means. Does it mean actually a Kedushay Shtar, which I'll explain in a minute, or does it normally mean that a person could write like a shtar shiduchim, like what we call Tanoim. When they wrote Tanoim, which were the conditions, who was going to pay for what. And once you signed the Tanoim, it wasn't actually legal. They weren't married, but with the conditions, it was ready to go. So that kind of locked up the couple, so no one else could interfere into the shidduch. So the Gemara will actually entertain for a moment that perhaps it means what was called. There are 3 ways that kedushin could be effective. Just to back up a step, kedushin is the first part of the marriage, right? There's kesef, shtar, and bia. Bia is of course cohabitation, which was not done at a very early stage in halacha. That leaves kesef and shtar. Kesef is what we do today. We use a ring, which has a monetary value, and that's why it's important that the monetary value be apparent, or approximate monetary value be known. Then there's shtar, which was basically a document was written, harayat mekudesh li b'shtar zeh, and the shtar would obviously have to be something that had no worth. So Gemara talks about writing on a piece of cheres, by a throwaway piece of clay that had no value whatsoever. But the actual document itself had validity to actually create the kedushin. That's only the first half. Then of course the second half is nisuin, which is what we have today as a chuppah. Okay. The bottom line is, so the Gemara entertains for a moment whether kedushin noshim actually means kedushin with shtar. So that means writing harayat mekadesh. Most they know it actually refers to what we call the tanaim, the shidduch. Gittin. Okay, so Kedusha Gittin, and the Rishonim explained that Kedusha Gittin here means the person is going to be leaving, and the concern was as well that if he didn't write the get now,
that he might disappear.
Correct. So there was this minhag that they would write a get, and would be conditional for not returning. Okay, V'shovrim, shover is a receipt. So when a debt is outstanding and you pay the debt, right? So then you get a receipt. It's like getting back the IOU or stamping paid on the IOU. So why? Because the concern was the malve, the love would not pay back to the malva. The lender would not pay back to the borrower would not pay back to the lender unless he received some kind of formal document to ensure he wouldn't be double billed. Daidiki. So that's Shovin. Daidiki is this is a ksav, a document that's written on a deathbed of how the assets will be divvied up. It's called Rosh Shtar Savah. So a person is not coming. It's clearly the end of his life. He says so and so and so and so. They write it. They fight it as he's speaking. It's attested to. It's signed. That's the Shtar Daidiki. Matana. So Shtar Matana. This is a little less clear why this is so important. You want to give someone a present.
Right.
So you don't have the present with you. So you're so magnanimous. You write, "I'm going to give you the present. I owe you the present, or I'm transferring you the present now." Mm-hmm. So what's the concern? The concern is that if you didn't write it now, he may back out, right? Now maybe that's not a present you want. Maybe it is. I don't know. But that's what Shtar Matana is. Prosbolim is a prosbol. Sure. This is when the malva writes over to the Beis Din to be able to collect his chov during that the Shemitah shouldn't cancel it, and the reason is.
You'd have to assume that the 7 years is going to expand during.
So you'd have to assume that it's during a chag, and the concern is that he won't be able to find a Beis Din after the chag. So Shtar Prosbol is written. It's Machloka is written at the beginning or the end of the Shemitah. So it would have to be. I imagine, Pesach. Right?
You have to write it before the Shemitah, I think, right?
Right,
or the
correct.
beginning of the Shemitah.
Correct.
Yeah, right.
But maybe the Shemitah is going to start like tomorrow, or I don't know.
Well, but
when does it start?
I'm sorry?
In Rabbi Krofman says you write at the end.
You write at the end, and some people also write at the beginning. Correct.
I see. So you think the chov isn't cancelled until the end of the
correct. The question, the machlok is when the chov cancels it. Most Rishonim say it's the end. Some people say it maybe the beginning. So people are machmir right at the beginning. If not, you should always write at the end.
Well, otherwise, you'd say during the whole year Shemitah you can collect the
Shemitah cancels it. Shemitah cancels the debt at one point. It's not a continuous cancellation.
The beginning it cancels at the end it cancels.
That's machlokas.
No, I'm saying otherwise. If it's the end, then during the whole Shemitah year you can collect your money.
That's correct. So it cancels
right,
at the
very end. Next day would be Shemitah.
But no, it means it cancels on the last day of the Shemitah. Whatever it is, it's either the first day of the Shemitah or the last day of the Shemitah, but there's no real yontif that happens right before that. So you have to, the scenario that you have to come up with is that he is so concerned now on Pesach, he's leaving for this faraway journey, he won't be around to collect his debt, and therefore he wants to give it over to the Beis Din now to be able to be sure in case it's not paid by then. Mm-hmm. Okay? And next is Igwa Shum. So
garlic.
No, Shum actually refers to estimation. Okay, so the when you want to collateralize a loan with karka, okay, it's called shtar halva sheish lo achrayos. It has a responsible piece of property behind it. It's a collateralized loan. Yeah. The question is, how much is the actual property that stands behind the debt?
What's the value?
What's the value of it? So Beis Din would come and they would write that the value of the lova, the value of the lova's property or possessions is so much and so much. That was important because if the malva was not satisfied with he had money to collateralize the loan, he may not want to lend it. He may not want to lend it to the lova. In other words, I want to give you $1,000. I want to know that I can always collect it back. If you default, you have something that stands behind it. So once again, Igwa Shum is the Beis Din would write a support of how much the property was to collateralize the loan. Okay, these are all, once again, as Mr. Bender pointed out, these are all pretty formal kinds of structures. The Igris Mazon, the based in is deciding or defining how much it has to be paid to a woman and her children, or according to some of the other Rishonim, it means a husband accepts upon himself to support. It could be something like a ksuva, or it could be something that he's taking upon himself to support his wife's daughter, a stepdaughter. A stepdaughter, he doesn't really have a responsibility to support from the ksuva. He's responsible to support his wife. He's responsible to support his children. The stepdaughter is a little beyond that, and so therefore the Igris Mazon was a shtar that Beis Din would write in terms of how much he would be responsible to pay for Bat Ishto.
Right.
Okay. So, and all of these examples are either L'tzarech Moed, or you wouldn't find anyone after the Moed, or maybe something will happen to the possessions. Next is Shtare Chalitza.
So that, excuse me, the Igris Mazon.
Correct.
That's an obligation the person's taking upon himself.
Correct.
Yeah. So what's the
responsibility?
Imperative?
The imperative, if you don't write it now, he may change his mind. All these cases are either formal documents or concerns we won't be able to write them, or concerns he may change his mind. Igris Mazon is probably a greater responsibility to write than a matana.
Exactly.
I want to give you a gift. Okay, so easy come, easy go. I won't give you the gift.
So this is a gift too.
Yeah, this is
That's correct. It's a gift.
He's got no pre-existing.
Correct. It's an ongoing responsibility.
Every month I'll give you so much. Every year I'll give you so much.
They're all variations on one of two things. Either you won't find the Beis Din. Either you won't find you're concerned you won't find the Beis Din, or you're concerned the person will back out before you find the Beis Din.
But I don't see what's in it for the
guy signing the story.
Why should he say? He could say, look, he said, I'm a good guy.
To it.
I'm a good guy. I'm going to look after you, but I mean, I can't foretell the future. Maybe my business is going to go bad. Maybe I won't have the money.
It's a general question.
As long as I can, I'll give you the money.
So that's a general question.
Maybe that's what the star said.
So Star would say that two witnesses heard so and so say that so that he's going to give him this. You have witnesses who can attest the fact that he's matana. By the way, matana is not only that I will give you. Matana means I'm giving you.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Matana means I am giving you. I'm giving you. I'm giving you. If I'm giving you a safe, I can give you the safe right now. I'm giving you my car.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So what proves that you have my car? I transfer you the registration.
Mm-hmm.
But so that would be the same thing. What proves that I'm giving you the car? I sign over my registration. You'll say, but I'm a nice guy. I told you I'm giving you the car. But who's going to walk away from a gift of a car without a signed registration? Unless you'll say, well, he'll give it to me or he won't give it to me. So all these look like matters of convenience, but they're matters of convenience that may change if they're not attested to now.
Well, here I would look at it. Look, I'd look at it.
I know what you're saying. You're saying if he wants to give the gift, he'll give the gift. Okay, but maybe tomorrow he won't want to give the gift.
Okay, but exactly. So from my point of view, as the person who's going to be giving, why on earth would I want to obligate myself formally to pay? If I'm going to pay,
so the answer,
the extent that I can.
So the answer is that one of two answers. One answer is I don't have to formally obligate myself, but seeing that I've now made the statement, I'll say fine. Right? I'm selling you my car, so you'll say give me the registration, and either I'm going to say yes I will or no I won't. I'll give it to you in a few weeks. Until a few weeks comes around, you may not get the car. You know that, and I know that. Or the Shtar Matana says that in front of two witnesses, the two witnesses attest that the following person made a statement which we can now attest to as two witnesses. They sign it, that becomes a legal document, or maybe it's made in front of a Beis Din.
Yeah, but think
about it. It does not have to be done. It's not a change in status. It's not the same as a git, and it's not the same as a shidduch. It's not the same as anything else. It proves that you may lose your loan.
If the giver's not going to be there, I'm sitting in private with you and I say, I'm going to give you this gift, but I'm leaving now. Mm-hmm. And I say, well, no one's going to know that you've given it to me, and other people might contest it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I can see
so
exactly.
Here's a shot.
It's the recipient. No, it's the recipient. We know you're going to sell your whatever. You're going away, you're going to do something. You're the giver, and I'm the recipient. right? And I say, listen, I know you're going away and I don't mind you do it, but give me something that says I'll be able to collect X, right? So, and your answer could have been, well, it's Chol Moed, I'm not allowed to sign. But that's not true, because you could. So I guess if you say I won't, then it means you're not serious about it, right? So, I think that's what it boils down.
By the way, on another twist, there are some Mepharshim would say it's also maybe a Tzorach Moed. If you have the gift now, you can use it now for Yontif. So now, you're thinking long-term gift, right? Maybe I'm giving you a field, and this field has got fruit, or maybe I'm giving you something that's usable now. So there are all kinds of possibilities why this could be seen as Tzorach Moed, Dovra Avad. Trying to think what else we said. It may not be Tzarchei Rabim. No. It may, and they said the thing behind it, according to many Rishonim, is that it's not as great as malacha as perhaps some other malachos. So if there's any kind of reason for it, they're more. It seems like they allow it more. Okay.
Because there isn't a huge tircha.
There isn't a huge tircha, right? It's maleches uman, but it's maleches uman in a couple of letters or a couple of lines. Okay. Okay. Now,
you guys all have it?
We're on Yud Chesamid Bet. Yud Chesamid Bet, and there's a Mishnah on the top of the page, so it's about 2, 4, 6, 8. It's about 9 lines on the top.
Brand new Mishnah.
We're about 9 lines on the top. We're in?
I guess we are.
Okay. The first word is Shum, Vigris Mamon. Vigris Mazon.
That's where we're at.
Okay. The Mishnah is listing items that you can write on Chol Moed.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And we pointed out that the listing from this implies that you can write these on Chol Moed, and other things you cannot write on Chol Moed. And by the way, it flows over to the next Mishnah as well. There's more writing, comes up at the bottom of the page. Okay, so we had things like writing a get, we had things like writing a Tanayim, we had things like writing a gift document, or a prose bowl, or a receipt, or an estimation of value to collateralize a loan, or a document that a husband would write that he will support his stepdaughter.
These are all permissible.
These are all permissible. All of them were afraid he won't find the Bayt Din afterwards, or he may backtrack or change his mind. So it's important to formalize it now in a written structure in front of the Bayt Din. So, Shtarei Chalitza, moving through the list. Shtarei Chalitza is a shtar that when the Bayt Din writes to the Yavama that the Chalitza took place.
You really wonder why that's necessary. I mean, you're going to go through a Yibum?
Not a Yibum, this is Chalitza.
No, I'm saying...
Says she's permissible.
What?
Says she's permissible.
I guess you think if you... But doesn't he have an obligation to do one or two things? Either marry her or give her...
Right, but until she is until he marries her, or until he rejects her, she can't marry anyone else.
I agree, but you sort of...
This is actually a very important document.
No, I agree it's an important document. You wonder why it has to be a Chol Moed. That's the question.
It has to be a Chol Moed because one of the principals may not be there tomorrow. It's a very critical document. She will travel to someplace else. They'll say, prove that you have been discharged. Prove that you will no longer have... Right? We know half the story. We don't know what happened in the end.
She may have the chance of a shidduch with someone else.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying.
And he's going on.
Days when a person doesn't go out of his way, she could find someone else in the night after, or during the 9 days. So that's why it's more than permissible during the 9 days for
which
single
9 days
people.
are we talking about now?
The 9 days.
For shidduch.
In 9 days between Rosh Chodesh and Tisha B'Av.
Yes, correct. So, right, but I'm saying we're talking about the exact opposite case where a woman's husband died where there was no children.
Right.
There were no rights, so she is now, and the brother-in-law should marry her. So, but this is all critical. Today at a get, Rahman al a get, the Bayt Din writes the get. They do not give the get to the woman.
Right.
They write her a receipt, a Kabbalah. She has the Kabbalah, and they warn her to keep it. I mean, the Bayt Din keeps a copy in their records, of course, but they give her an original copy that this is for you, the best proof that if you ever called upon, people know that you were married. Whatever happened, you pull out the document from the reputable Bayt Din. So Shtar Chalitza is no different.
Yeah.
They're just less Chalitzas today than there are Gittin, okay? Umeunin, okay, and Shtar Miyun, Ektana, okay, so Ktana can only, let's say a woman can accept Kiddushin when she becomes a Bogeres, when she becomes of age. A Katana, her father marries her off.
Katana, yeah. This
Katana, okay.
Yeah.
In other words, the father would receive the Kesef Kiddushin for the Katana.
Yeah.
She's still considered in his rights, in the father's rights and control.
Yeah.
Please don't ask me about child marriages. I'm saying in the construct of...
But then what happens?
However, if the father is no longer alive, okay, so you have a Yisoma, so then who actually marries her off? Okay, so in this case, Chazal set up a process that her mother or her brother can actually marry her off. They would receive the Kesef Kiddushin, as Hared Mekudeshes Li Bekesef Zeh, and as long as she is a Katana, she has the right to deny this marriage and walk away from it.
But I'm still a little bit confused.
Let me do it again. She's married as a Katana.
So the father's alive at that point?
No, if the father is alive, he accepts the Kesef Kiddushin.
Does he have to write something or didn't write anything?
No, he didn't write anything.
So far he didn't write
anything.
Okay.
If she's divorced, then he would receive, actually the get would go to the father. In other words, she's a Katana, she has no das. If the father is not alive.
And did he do anything before he was alive?
Nothing.
So we have a Katana, she's an orphan now.
Correct.
Okay.
So in a society where children got married young,
right,
where it was common that a girl could get married before she was a bogeres, before 12 and a half.
Only technically, or not actually?
Practically, where this practically could happen. Okay, why
would they marry somebody who was sexually immature?
Because people lived a shorter period of time.
No, but doesn't nobody make it.
Okay, so it's actually from 12 to 12 and a half.
We're talking about the 6. Okay.
Okay, the 6 months. Now, so in such a case where the father is not alive, Chazal set up a system where it would be Kedushin midrabanan, that the mother or the brother would receive the Kedushin. However, if the girl wanted to renege or get out of the marriage,
Before it took place or after it took place?
After it took place.
So she's married now. Okay, gotcha.
Correct. As long as she's a Katana.
Right.
Okay. So there's a process called mi'un, which basically means rejection.
Mm-hmm.
In which mi'un, mem yud aleph vav nun. Which is called here shtar miunin or miunin, where she rejects the husband.
Right.
She does have those rights,
right,
because the kedushin was not really a Torah legal kedushin.
Right.
She has the right to reject it, and she leaves the marriage.
Okay.
And she does not need a get.
Doesn't need a get.
Because the marriage itself was not really considered
a real
binding marriage.
Okay.
Correct?
And then
when that happens, the Beis Din writes a shtar miyun to attest to the fact that this took place. That she was married while she was a Katana by her mother or brother.
Right.
She has now gone up in front of them and rejected her husband.
Right.
And the marriage is, if you will, null and void or never was.
And what happens if the guy paid money when he married her?
Too bad. Okay.
Oh, okay.
They don't have to give the money back.
Have to give the money
back? I don't
back?
think so. The marriage was marriage.
Well, we just said it's not a half marriage.
No.
We're just asking.
So
money that. It's not a mekach. Like any marriage that terminates in divorce, you give the money back.
I see. Okay. Well,
there might be a ksuva, whatever the reason is. I don't know. Okay. But the bottom line is.
So they wrote the shtar.
So they write the shtar miyah. Now it's important. It's extremely important to write the shtar to validate when this was, to prove that she's still a katana. Okay, so that's only
she's already a Bulgarian.
Because if she's already past the age of being katana, this is no longer valid. So in fact, if she becomes a gedola,
she probably can't back out anymore.
And she can no longer back out. In other words, if she has already proven herself to be mature, right? She's brought shtei sairos, 2 hairs, then that is the case where she would need a formal get. There's a way to terminate marriage, which is to get.
Yeah.
But the assumption is that as long as she was underage, she didn't really have das to go into this. She's no longer under the father's control, who gave his assent because the father is not alive. So there really wasn't real das to get into it. You don't need real das to get out.
Right.
The same way it was quasi, same way getting out is quasi. So you had to write the shtar because who knows? Maybe next week we would find out that she was of age.
Sure.
So therefore, writing the shtar was considered could be a real davar avod.
Absolutely.
That would change the whole scenario.
Well,
okay.
Because everybody knows she was married to this guy.
Correct.
Of course. Absolutely.
So that's, in other words, that's another example. That's called shtar. So shtar chalitza once again is about status. Shtar mi'unin is also about status of the woman. All of these things, you realize some of them look like they're more significant because they deal with personal status. Some deal with financial issues. Some deal with, well, we're not that concerned about it. But all of them had the concern either you won't find a based in, or you won't be able to validate, or someone may change their mind. Okay. Next, shtare birurim. This, according to many Rishonim, means that when you choose a based in, so normally you have two balei dinin. It's called zebor lo echad zebor zabla. Okay, right. So then each bal din chooses one judge, and the two judges together choose a third judge.
Right.
So this could be the shtar that they write who are the judges. And that they write that these balei dinim.
Agreement to arbitrate, right?
Or I was going to say it's an agreement to arbitrate. Well, you've agreed that these will be the arbitrators, and you're going to accept their arbitration. It's exactly an agreement to arbitrate. Okay, it's precisely what it is. And no basin today will even enter into that until that's signed. And sometimes the hardest part is, of course, to decide who the three judges will be. Now, Gzera is based in. Gzera's based in is a psak din of a based din, and the concern was, it may sound funny that if they don't write it now, they may forget it by after Chol Moed. It doesn't have to mean a major psak, but there was a decision, they wanted to record it. All court decisions are recorded, and if you didn't record it then, who knows, by the time 3 days rolled around from now, each one will remember that this scenario different.
So they sat on Chol Moed, we're saying, presumably.
Presumably, yeah. Yeah. Correct.
Is this the definition of what writing is?
Is there a definition? Yes.
Did it have to be a handwritten shtar, or could be printed?
There was no printing.
No, not there, but did they extrapolate this to today?
So the question is extrapolating writing till today about writing.
Yeah.
Right. So I mentioned briefly. I said this is a very large discussion that whether we can apply this till today. Many people, I won't say all people, many people feel that writing is today such a basic skill, a basic non-skill. Right? Literacy is so basic to society that it's no longer considered skilled work. The more Machmir version says, well, it is, but if I write it with a shino, it's okay. Writing with I'm sorry. So the issue becomes it's probably more skilled to type than it is to write. Yeah. Except that probably by our age, typing and keypadding, they no longer teach typing in school. There's no more courses called keyboarding. It doesn't exist. Kids grow up this way.
There's no.
They just peck away. They're just going to they'll be better than you and I will ever be. It's kind of do that when they finish, while they're still using the bottle, just clumping away. I'm saying it's for them. It's as common for you as for you and I taking penmanship.
No, the real question is some schools have stopped teaching cursive writing.
Correct. Actually, the real issue is how it's taken over the language and how kids are not learning language skills correctly, right? Because the way you write things, the way you type things are very different. The way the brain processes things is different as well. Okay.
When you write out things longhand, you have to plan. At the beginning of each sentence, you have to have some idea of how the sentence is going to end. Where you're typing away and you're correcting and editing.
Right. There's no more PS. There's no more PS. PS is gone. Okay, it doesn't exist. But I remember when we were kids back in 4th or 5th grade, and we told the English teacher that we couldn't write because it was Chol Moed, and of course she didn't know the difference. We came to tell the Rabbi the next morning he didn't buy it. Okay. So anyway, but all this, but you see the implication of those is clearly writing was a skill. You had professional letter writers. You couldn't post a letter like we do or used to do. So Gzeret Beitin are once again a decisions of a Beitin. The Igros Shel Rashut. So this is a question you read, is this read as Igros Shel Rashut or Igros Shel Rashut?
Mine says Rashut.
I know. Rashut means the government. So the question is, what are we talking about? What government documents are we talking about? Are we referring to letters that the Beis Din would send to the government, on behalf of the people, probably important, or maybe vice versa. There were government documents that came that had to be copied and sent out to the people, right? Or that's if it's Igrish Rashut. Some of the Rishonim have it as Rashut, which of course means something a lot lighter, that like a letter, salutary letter, like hello, how are you, like an email probably today. Now, a discretionary letter, correct? A discretionary. What would be the reason for that? So the Rabbi writes, well, it's possible that you wanted to write a letter to someone and you only have the courier who's leaving today, right? So once again, it could be a davar avod. It's like a davar avod, or maybe you know what? You don't know when the courier will go. You don't know when they check the post box, and when it starts going overseas. So you want to write it in case the mail goes out, in case the ship leaves. Right, back in the day, even not that far back, when letters went by ship, or vice versa. To kind of take it a different spin, the Rambam says it really means reshut, that because when you're writing Shelat Shalom, hello, how are you? You have to refer to Chol Moed. You have to refer to Good Yantiv. Say Good Yantiv in the letter. So inevitably it becomes a Tzorach HaMoed. You're including Yantif in it. Have a good Yantif. Dear friend, my dear friend, and goodbye, sincerely yours, have a good Yantif. Right? So somehow, even a Shelat Shalom, though of course, of all the items here, that would be the most gray area that's a Tzorach HaMoed, but there's a Tzorach HaMoed gets thrown in. Okay? So... Okay, this is all this list of the Mishnah. Once again, the Mishnah at the bottom of the Amud is actually going to continue with more items, but let's take the Gemara and see what it says now. So the Gemara actually focuses on the part about Shidduchim. So early on in this list, we had in the second item. The first item was Kedusha Nashim, right? And I told you it's a machlokus, and this is what the Gemara is going to talk about, what the machlokus actually is, whether Kedusha Nashim means the actual marriage, where you could get married with a shtar, or refers to Shidduchim. Amar Shmuel. So the Gemara starts with a name of Shmuel before it brings our Mishnah in. A person can get engaged to a woman, can do erisin. Erisin means actually kiddushin. So la'ares is not simply a shidduch. La'ares is to actually do the first part. The marriage ceremony used to be two parts: erisin, kiddushin, and nisuin. We've merged them together. They've been merged together since the end of the Middle Ages, but there used to be two ceremonies: Kedushin, which is Haret Mekudeshet, what we do with the ring, and then the actual marriage was the chuppah. Today we put them together. The reading of the ksuva or the rabbi's speech, or both of them, actually separate between the two halves, and that's by the way why the ksuva actually is there. The reading of the ksuva at that point is to show that there's a separation between the two ceremonies. Sure. Okay.
So what does a Nisuin actually consist of?
So there's a whole machlokas the Gemara would actually, so the Nisuin is, the opinion we follow is it's the actual chuppah. The actual being under the chuppah together, under this canopy, right, is actually the actual Nisuin. So that's why the whole thing takes place under the chuppah.
Well, when the Chosson says Harayat Mekudeshet,
that's kiddushin. That's kiddushin. That's the first half. That's the first half. By the way, kiddushin affects marriage for everything except they cannot cohabit together.
Right.
But they're legally married, right? And they actually, if they break off at that point, they need a get.
For sure.
Okay, so Kedushin is marriage. It's just a twofold process. Today, what we've done in our society, you have marriage, then you have engagement. The engagement, it means he gives a ring, give the ring back, give the ring forward. It doesn't mean that much. It's not real marriage, but it's the same kind of concept that there was a commitment to marry, only the Kedushin was a real commitment.
Well, the word Kiddushi, I mean, like Mekudeshet, that's a pretty serious thing.
Correct,
yeah.
Right, okay.
That's probably the reason they put them together.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, you know, and I was told, in Europe, when you signed the T'nayim, right? It was worse to break the T'nayim than to break a marriage.
Because it was a big negotiation.
Not just negotiations. Because this is what my grandmother used to tell us. She used to tell us that in Europe, people live together, they couldn't live together. Okay, fine. People understood that. It happens. That people don't mesh. But the reality is they didn't live together before Kedushin. They didn't live together before they got married. So if you signed T'nayim and then you broke it, what could you have found out that would have been so bad? What could it would have to be something terribly, horrendously horrible that would have broken apart this shidduch. So that was seen as a terrible stigma in Europe. We don't have that concept today. People break shidduchim, unfortunately, all the time, unfortunately. But the concept was, if you got married and couldn't live together, okay, trefsa chazay. But here, this must have been something so bad before they even got in the door, they had something to broke it apart. Anyways, but back here, so we're back here at the Shtar Kiddushin. So the Gemara talks about the Mishnah. Shmuel says you can marry a woman with Kiddushin or Erusin, as the term is used on Chol Shemoed. Why? Shemei Kadmenu Achad. This is what Tuvi pointed out, that we say even for 9 days, that in case someone else will come and marry her before, so you want to make sure that you marry this woman. Yeah. So therefore, it's permissible, okay, because it is considered a davar avod. Because people are so fickle, but whatever the reasons are, if you didn't marry her today on the first day of Chol Moed, maybe by the third day of Chol Moed or the next day, the second day of Chol Moed, someone else will marry her, make her better off. I don't know.
Chaim will show up and she'll figure.
Correct.
He would be under a prohibition from marrying her during Chol Moed.
Who?
The other person. So then how could she?
That's why. Therefore, he should marry her on Chol Moed.
Let's assume there were no marriages allowed during Chol Moed. If that was the case, no one would be able to get married during Chol Moed.
True.
So there wouldn't be any danger of someone else coming along and getting there first. So
the answer may be is that there are times you don't get married, and there are times you're prohibited to get married. For example, the days between Yom Kippur, I'm trying to think, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there were no marriages. Okay? So you made din, people are serious. Now, halachically, there's no reason. It might even be between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, I don't remember now. Okay, but I know for sure 9 days. But halachically, someone went to marry someone, the Kedusha would be chal, 100% marriage. So the same thing, in other words, it's not saying you can't say that it's a prohibited act. In other words, if a person did get married on Chol Moed,
so it's prohibited, but if it takes place, it's chal.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So that really explains.
So you see that it's permitted to do so. Why? Because Shemei Kadmenu Achad. Someone will break ranks, right? Two people break ranks, he and she. Okay.
I'm going to say.
So at any rate, that's a statement of Shmuel. That's a statement of Shmuel because who knows what can happen. So then the Gemara says as follows: Leima Masayle, let's prove from our Mishnah that what Shmuel says is true. What can we prove from our Mishnah? So our Mishnah said, we just read it, V'ela kosim b'moed kedushay nashim. So the first item in the list was, what can you write on Chol Moed? Kedushay nashim. My love shtar kedushay mamish. This must mean it's the actual shtar kedushin. Remember, shtar kedushin is not the same as the ksuva. Shtar kedushim is he has a piece of paper or a piece of cheres, and he writes on a harei at mekudeshet li bishtar zeh, signed whatever it is, Moshe ben Chaim, and gives it to her. Actually, doesn't even have to sign it. He gives it to her in front of the witnesses. He gives her the shtar, and she accepts the shtar. She sees what it says. She accepts it, even though it has absolutely no intrinsic value.
Right, but it's still a valid.
But it's a valid document because it's written as a document. Witnesses saw it, and she accepted, and everybody saw there was real das. He had das to give it to her. She had das to accept it, and therefore it's kedushin. So Gemara says, is this not what it means? That is this not shtar kedushin?
Yeah.
And it's approved. So the Gemara says, no, lo shtar psikta. This is not. It doesn't mean it's wrong. By the way, it means there's no proof from our Mishnah to Shmuel. When our Mishnah is talking about Kedushay Nashim, it does not have to be Kedushay Shtar.
What else could it be? What else could Kedushay Nashim
No, so
be?
it means our Mishnah will hold that you cannot get married on Chol Moed. And the shtar that's being mentioned is a shtar of what we call the shtar shiduchim.
Oh.
Okay?
Oh. I see. So they're saying even though it sounds like, if you just read it in the Mishnah, you'd think that it is a shtar like Shmuel's talking about.
Right, and the answer is that that's not what it means. What it means is they would write the shtar shiduchim, but they would not get married, but it's no proof to Shmuel, and may argue on Shmuel, or Shmuel may be arguing on this Mishnah. Shmuel says you can get married on Chol Moed. Maybe this Mishnah only says you can sign the shtar of Shidduchim, of Tanayim, on Chol Moed.
So psikata we're saying is like Tanaim.
Yeah, psikta means to set, be posek, to decide, make decision, to decide to marry, agreement to marry.
So we're not getting married now. We're agreeing we will marry.
We're agreeing to marry, which is what the Tanaim are.
Yeah.
And the Gemara says, Rav Gidl Amarav. Rav Gidl Amarav tells you exactly what a shtar psikta is. The Rav Gidl Amarav, and it's in short form. Kama tono sein levnecha kach v'kach. So one party says, how much you giving to your son, right? The father of the bride says, how much you putting into the pot for your son? And the other guy, how much such and such? And the other guy says, kama tono sein lebitecha. And he says, kach v'kach. How much you putting in for your daughter? So much and so much. And once again, these both the parents. Amdu v'kitchu. They got up. And then they're set for kedushin and kanu. Then the Mishnah here is talking about if they make this t'naim, and then they got up and they're mekadesh, they don't need to do anything else. Kanu, they're set because they already agreed to what the items are. Hein hin advarma niknim bi'amira. So these are the things that are said. You don't even have to write this down, but the parties agree to it verbally how much it is. Then they get up and he's mekadesh, and that's how it is. So notice what this quote actually says. It's a little confusing because it puts two things together. It puts together the agreement to marry,
right,
and then the actual marriage itself. But in other words, what we're saying is that you see that there are two things. There are two things here separately. One is the actual the agreement to marry, and the other is that the actual marriage itself. In this case, because they agree to the two things right away, the chiddush of the Mishnah is you don't need a separate kinyan to create the marriage. This is hein dvar maniknim b'amira.
Yeah. So now I'm truly lost.
So Rav Gitl Amarav is telling you that where both parties have agreed to the kinyan, and the specifics are very clear,
right?
And they've written a shtar,
right?
Then right away, while they're still sitting there, they get up, and he says Haret Mekudeshet Li. That's enough. You don't need an additional transfer of kesef or shtar. It's an exception to the rule because these are hein advar niknim b'amira because they already talked about what the actual items are. But you see from Rav Gitl Amarav that there are two parts here. One is the actual t'noim, kama tonos in levnecha, kama tonos in lebetecha, and the next thing is the marriage.
Yeah, I must admit that I'm confused because it sounds like, first of all, we're talking about the parents, clearly.
Correct.
Is that the two fathers say, I'll give you this, you'll give that.
No.
That's a typical Tanaim. And it says you do that verbally.
Correct.
That's clear.
Correct.
Right? So you did that verbally, and then clearly you must have written something because the Mishnah is talking about writing something.
No.
So what's the Mishnah?
Oh, they wrote to Tanaim. Yes, they wrote to Tanaim.
Well, I'm not saying if they did or they didn't.
Right.
Maybe they just talked about it. But then, so we agree. Everybody agrees that Tanaim doesn't say Harei Kudeshet. The Tanoim just says, I'll give this much, you'll give that much, I'll pay for the orchestra, you'll pay for the flowers, you know, that
right.
sort of thing.
And
so that's so far just an agreement to be...
So in our society, we're not used to making that agreement and getting up to go to the marriage.
Okay.
Normally they made the Tanaim.
Okay.
Then they came back and they got married, went to Kedushin.
Months later.
Right.
Yeah.
This is almost like when we do the Tanaim right before the actual chuppah. Which today in the modern society, many times the Tanoim are not done separately, they're done right before the actual going to the chuppah, before the bedeket.
What is the Mishnah, according to this rabbi, what does he say the Mishnah means when it says you can write? Because that's what it says, Elo Kotvim, right?
Oh, so when our Mishnah, and therefore when our Mishnah says Kotvim Kedushin Nashim, that's referring to shtar psikta.
And the psikta we said was just
the agreement with who's paying for what.
Tanoim, let's say.
And the proof that there is such a thing called the shtar psikta is from the statement of Rav Gitl Amarav that talks about this unusual case where they wrote a shtar psikta, and then right away you can go on and get married if you do it right away, and you don't need an additional kinyan because the kinyan that acquired the agreement to marry at the very moment you're going to get married is going to transfer as well to the actual marriage.
Even though it doesn't say
even though he doesn't say even though she doesn't receive, but that is considered that both the kinyan is that's the knows what Rav Gitl Amarav is a chiddush that you don't need an additional kinyan like you would normally expect to do.
Right.
The reason we bring this here is to prove that there are two separate things. In the case of Rav Gitl Amarav, they're being squashed together.
Right.
But the proof is, you see, therefore, there's a separate start sikta, or start shduchin, or start snaim, as we would call it. According to Rav Gittel Marav, and according to, therefore, what our Mishnah is talking about as well. So our Mishnah, when it talks about Kiddush Nashim, does not mean as you would normally think it means Kiddush Shidduchim, Kiddush Tanaim, or start snaim.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now, Gemara says, Lema Messiah. Let's bring a proof. This is a different type of question. The Mishnah says as follows: Ein nosim nashim b'moed. This is earlier in Masechet Moed Kattan. You can't get married on Chol Moed. Lo besulos v'lo almonos v'lo miyavmin. You don't do yibum. You can't do all of these items on Chol Moed. Mipnei shesimcha hilo. It's a simcha to him, and because it's a simcha,
don't mix one simcha with the other.
Correct. So this is what the Mishnah says. So the Gemara wants to prove from this. This is the proof that you can't marry. Nosim is a very specific term for nisuin. Right. You can't do nisuin, which is the culmination of the actual marriage ceremony. But what if it's short of the culmination? What about part A? What about the kiddushin? As happy as kiddushin is, it's not the ultimate happiness because the couple is still not living together.
Right.
So the Gemara says, wait, hala ares shari. But that could imply from the Mishnah we had in Daf Chet and Bet that when it comes to Chol Moed, you can't get married, but you could get kiddushin. So part A you could do, you can't do part B.
Right.
So once again, let's prove from this that you can get married on Chol Moed, and our Mishnah therefore when it says kiddushin nashim,
it means marriage.
Erisin. Now, first we asked the question, right? We deflected the question by saying that's really sharp sikta.
Right. That was
now. Yeah. So therefore, so the question got knocked off. Now it takes a different tack. Let's see if we can find a proof. Our Mishnah, the Mishnah Daf Chet Medbed said you can't get nisuin on Chol Moed. The Mishnah goes out its way to say nisuin. Nisuin you can't get married, which means anything short of nisuin you could get married.
Which was the Mishnah that says you can't?
Daf Chet Medbed. It was earlier.
Daf Chet.
Daf Chet.
Daf Chet. Okay, I don't remember it, but yeah.
Here. Chet Medbed. Ein nosim nashim b'moed.
Yeah, so that sounds pretty clear.
Right.
And nisuin means the second part. Right, of course.
Correct. And the Gemara had a whole discussion what it means. Well, what's wrong if there's a simcha? Or we're concerned that you forget about the simchas yontif, be involved in the simcha of the wedding.
Yeah.
At any rate, it's chet medbed. It's very clear. So but the Gemara's diuk is it says nosim.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Normally, when you want to exclude kiddushin, you say ein makachim.
Kachim. Yeah.
So a nosim implies the Gemara at least holds out that nosim means you can't be do nisuin, but eris and kiddushin you could do.
Absolutely.
So that's the Gemara tries to bring a proof. So the Gemara says lema Messiah says ein nosim nashim lo b'suf lo monav lo miyamnin shesimchi lo. So the Gemara says hali aris shari, but to do eris is permissible. So the Gemara's response is nope. Lo mi boy kamar. It's not. You can't learn it that way. You have to learn it the other way around. Lo mi boy la'ares lo kovid mitzvah. Sometimes when you list an item that's prohibited, you're including a lesser item as well. What do I mean to say? We thought to say that. Let me tell you what we thought to say. Let me tell you what we think now. I'm going to say. We thought to say that nisuin would be prohibited because it's ultimate simcha, and kiddushin would be permitted because it was less simcha.
Yeah.
However,
sure,
there's one other way of looking at that. Nisuin is permissible. Nisuin would be more permissible because it allows you to be involved in pruravu, right? So therefore, you could have thought that maybe nisuin would be permissible because of pruravu. So the Mishnah has to tell you can't do nisuin, but no one ever thought that erisin would be permissible because erisin alone can't lead to pruravu because it's prohibited. So lomi boy means not only I would never think that erisin would be permissible because there's no reason to allow it. But nisuin I may have thought to allow it because it leads to the mitzvah of pruravu, it's a tzorach mitzvah, and therefore may override Chol Moed. No, but it's not that nisuin is prohibited and erisin is permitted. Both of them are prohibited. So Gemara knocks off the lema Messiah. Read inside. Lomi boy kamar. It's not how to translate lomi boy. It's not this, but surely not the other. Lomi boy kamar. Lomi boy li ares lo kavid mitzvah. You're not to think that erisin, for sure erisin is prohibited because you're not doing a mitzvah. Elafila lisa nami de kavid mitzvah. Aser, even though nisuin will lead to me doing a mitzvah, it's still going to be prohibited. Right. No, surely it would be prohibited. Surely I would think it's permitted. Right? Therefore, it comes to me it's prohibited. So where are we at this point?
We don't know what. Well, we have two possibilities, but they're both.
But we haven't proven.
No, we haven't proven.
We haven't proven that our Mishnah says that Kiddushin is permissible.
Even though it must say something.
Right. What we've said so far. We've said so far is that it seems to be clearly, if anything, that erisin is prohibited, nisuin is prohibited, right? The only one who seems to say that, the only person that says that erisin is permissible in Chol Moed is Shmuel. Mutal aris isha b'chol shemot shemi kadmenu acher. That was the first line of the Gemara. But we don't have any real other source that seems to support that. We had the case of Gitla Marav, which simply just told us there were two parts. There's a shidduchim and then there's a marriage. Then we have the Mishnah on the Chet Medbed, which talks about nisuin, and we say, well, nisuin, but also erisin. And now the Gemara will take one more stab at this. Toshma, the Tana Devei Shmuel, ma'arsin avalo konsin. Okay.
This is still Shmuel's. Let's say.
No, it's a bright Tana Devei Shmuel looks like a bryce of Devei Shmuel. Right. It says Ma'ars, you can do erisin, right? Avalo konsin, but you can't do nisuin. Konsin means you take her in, which means nisuin. V'ein osin sudas erisin, and you can't do suda. You can do erisin, but you can't do sudas erisin. V'lo miyavin, and you don't do yibum nesha simchi lo. So what is the conclusion here? So you can do erisin,
right?
But what can you not do?
You can't do a suda.
You can't do a suda. You can't do nisuin, and you can't do yibum.
So before we couldn't do
correct,
nisuin, right?
Right. But I'm saying, but this makar brings them both together to make it very clear that you cannot a diuk here and there.
Right.
That there's a clear separation between the two. And therefore, what is real simcha? Simcha is a culmination of the actual marriage ceremony that's going to can lead to pruravu.
Which you're not allowed to do.
Which you're not allowed to do because that is considered ultimate simcha of some nature. And therefore the same thing would be for yibum.
Right.
Therefore yibum. Chalitza, you could do. In fact, our Mishnah said, you write shtari chalitza.
Right. No simcha.
No simcha there. Correct.
So we're agreeing that what our Mishnah means is what it sounded like it meant, which is you can do kiddushin,
correct,
but you can't. Now we're learning.
But it's a very quiet kiddushin.
But you can't celebrate it exactly.
Herring and schnapps.
Hey, after Yontif, we're going to celebrate.
So and that by the way, that would fulfill the concern Shemi Kadmenu Acher. Because you've locked up this marriage, you've locked up this unit, correct?
Really
and on the other hand, you haven't culminated in the ultimate simcha, which is ish v'ishto, which can lead to pruravu, which is viewed as a mitzvah. This, and on the and you can't have a suda, which means you have the minimalistic approach to shemi kadmenu acher.
Right.
Okay.
And we're saying we're allowing it to because Shema, but otherwise maybe you shouldn't be able to do it, right?
Well, but I'm saying, therefore it becomes permissible, and therefore there's no simcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And therefore our Mishnah, when it says writing a kedushay nashim, it's talking about real kedushay nashim.
Right.
That's how we're understanding this now. Haret mikudeshet li b'kshtar zeh.
Absolutely.
Okay. So. The Gemara now comes back to the first statement we started with, which is about Shmuel, about having to do erisin because Shemi Kadmenu Acher. So Gemara gets I want to say it's not a Godic, but it's more Machshava. Gemara says, is this really true? I mean, can you beat fate? I mean, either you believe that it's b'sher or not b'sher. Right?
Okay. I'll bring that.
Okay.
I mean, I was looking from a slightly different perspective. What sort of commitment, what sort of an interest does this girl have in getting married to this guy? If if he can't If he can't wait, he's not prepared to wait. He doesn't trust her enough, shall we say? He doesn't have that much confidence to wait a week.
Well,
can you imagine this?
So it's not the paradigm of romantic love.
Yeah,
But having said that, I'm sure the marriages have done well in various societies. Okay. So the Gemara asks the question though. This is what Shmuel said really true. Right, Shema, that someone else can grab her. Every day it says so and so is going to marry so and so. Sada ploni la ploni. Someone's field is going to be sold to so and so. Right, it's b'sher. Actually, it seems to go against the whole b'chir chavshis concept. So how can that be? So Gemara says, El Hashemi kadmeno acher barachamim. It says yes. So there is b'sher, but tefillah can overturn b'shert. Rachamim, somehow there is, in other words, tefillah is the opening for anything in the world, okay? So, and even that is very difficult, but it means that there's never a gate that's closed to bakashat rachamim. I'm not saying this is good necessarily. Maybe if you pray not to get your non-bashert, I don't know what that means, okay?
No, maybe they meant that this poor girl, Nebuch, you're marrying her because you feel somebody's got to marry her, and some other guy who wants the mitzvah, he'll marry her.
No, it means that no matter what God has what God has preordained, you can overturn that. Somehow that there's this tension always in the idea of tefillah and the idea of what is set. That's what it means. And here's the case. Kihad the Rava, in the case of Rava, Shamei lahu gavra, the boy Rachmi, he heard some guy was davening. Boy Rachmi means he was davening, and he was saying, not saying Shemona Esrei, Tizdamen li planye, or Palnisa, may I be able to marry Miss so-and-so, Miss so-and-so, is Miss Plony. Okay, in other words, may she come to me, may I be together with her. So Amalei, so Rava said to him, Loti boy rachme hachi, don't daven like this. Ichaz yelach, lo azal naminech. If she's worthy for you, if she's set for you, she's not going to go away from you. V'lo, kafarta b'Hashem. And if not, if she's not worthy for you, you're denying Hashem.
I thought we just said at the beginning you could.
Okay. In other words, so it looks like it doesn't work, right? So Basa Hachi, so after that, Shamei, so Rava heard the Kamar, what did the guy say? Ihi lamus mikama, o ihi tamus mikame. Notice he changed his davening, because Rava told him not to daven this way. He didn't daven, he should get her. He says, if I can't have her, if she's not going to be mine, either I should daven before she gets, I should die before she gets married, or she should die before I get married. Okay. Well,
this is a better way to daven.
So what Rava was saying, basically, tefillah will not work. So Amalei, so Rava heard him and says, Lava minalach. So Rava said to him, I told you not to daven like this. Don't even deal with this part in terms of tefillah itself. So this almost seems to imply that the tefillah is not really going to work. Correct?
Sounds like it. Well, in fact, it sounds like he was bawling him out.
Right.
Pushed him so far, the poor guy wanted to die if he couldn't marry her.
So the question, what's really wrong with this tefillah? It means that tefillah doesn't work, or does it mean something else?
Well, the first one was just, I'd like to marry her. He didn't talk about dying, right?
Right. So what's the matter? So what is Rabbi really saying? I mean, simple pshat, Rabbi is saying your tefillah is not going to work, right?
Sounds like it. He's saying either bashert or not.
Well, a simple pshat means that this tefillah cannot work, right? This tefillah cannot work. Where the previous line of the Gemara seems to say that tefillah rachmim can work. So there's some nuschos a little different here, and according to our nusach, that's what it looks like. So you'd have to say that it doesn't mean that it doesn't work, but it means it may not work. So and therefore, if you daven for something that may not happen, and you really put all your eggs in this, what happens if it doesn't turn out to be true?
Not a problem, Hashem.
Well, a person like this would be so broken, he would end up not only not marrying the girl, but he would be kofar on Hashem. That's how you have to understand what the Gemara is trying to say according to Rashi. In other words, yes, maybe it could work. Sometimes tefillah does work. Or it's possible that maybe if you don't get her, maybe that's also for the best too.
Sure.
So therefore, who knows what you're really getting into? You'll daven for her, you'll get her, and in the end, you really won't be happy because Hashem didn't really have her set for you to begin with. So you're asking for something that you know that you're really going to end up with the things that you don't really want.
What does tefillah mean?
What is what?
Tefillah mean like what?
Tefillah actually means to judge. Pilel means to judge. You're judging yourself. Tefillah means to judge, self-judgment.
But it's prayers.
Yes. So you have to assume here that Rava was making an assumption. This person was so wrapped up in his tefillah that he felt if he wouldn't get it, maybe Rava knew the girl was not really running for him, that this would be such a turnoff that he would never get the girl, he'd lose everything with it.
Somebody once said beautifully, it said, Hashem always answers your prayers,
right.
You just might not like the answer.
Correct. And in fact, you see from the continuation of the story, and you can understand romantic love can do this, that the guy says, well, if I can't have her, then kill me.
Die. Yeah, kill me. That's what he said.
So that's what Rabbi was trying to say, basically. Okay, so if you're in such a romantic swoon, and you're laying it all on God, and it doesn't come through, not only are you going to lose the girl and lose everything, you're going to lose God. So that's how you have to see what the Gemara is trying to say.
I have to see it.
Okay. Because otherwise, because the Gemara seems to say, if you go up with the previous response is what? Shem Shemekad Menocha Barachmim.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, what Barachmim? That with Rachmim you can actually turn things around.
Right. Sure.
Which is probably the real answer that we'd like to leave it with. That prayer can always hopefully can make change. Of course, we don't always get what we ask for, right? But sometimes we believe that we daven. We always believe we daven. We can get a change in Hakadosh Baruch Hu.